Hi, welcome to the Johnny Gets Cash YouTube channel, where I buy, fix and sell vehicles for profit. This is episode 6 in my series Chop to the Top, where I'm trading my way up from a cheap car to a supercar. If you're into cars and the fixing, cleaning and modifying of them, then you're in the right place, because that's exactly what I do. If you're not already subscribed, why not consider doing so and use the bell icon to be kept up to date as and when new videos are released. In the previous part to this episode, you saw me cleaning up my latest purchase, a 2009 Toyota Hilux. Although the truck was incredibly dirty and uncared for when it came to me, overall it seemed to be a decent enough example and one that needed saving. Today you'll see exactly what I was up against bringing this Hilux back to life, and it's fair to say it was hiding quite a few serious issues. It's been a big job rescuing this one, but I want the truck to be the best example that it can be for the new owner, so it's been a case of going the extra mile more than once. Anyway, enough talking, let's get on with it. The first thing to do was to inspect the condition of the underside of the truck after cleaning in the last episode. Straight away, it's apparent that the bed of the tub is in a poor state, with its cross members almost entirely rotted away. This isn't a huge surprise on a Hilux of this age, and it's pretty much par for the course. Moving forward and onto a more positive note, the underside of the cab and the main chassis rails, although rather neglected, appear to be in remarkably solid condition. Even the inner sills are rot-free, which is a huge bonus. With that inspection done, it was time to face the inevitable and start preparing to remove the tub. This is the only way I'm going to be able to properly remedy the issues I've found so far, and it will also give me a much better chance to inspect the rear part of the chassis. I want this Hilux to be as future-proof as possible, so there's no sense in cutting corners. I'm not exactly sure what happened here, but during the filming of the tub removal my lens fogged up. Not ideal, but hopefully you get the picture. With the tub now removed, it makes sense to clean up the rear of the chassis whilst access is good. Generally, the rear of the chassis suffers the worst from corrosion, so this job was well worth doing. Whilst cleaning up the surface rust, I paid special attention to the cross members, as these are renowned for holding dirt and therefore corroding. This is when I found out that one of the cross members was beyond saving. As this is the support for the rear of the fuel tank, it had to be sorted. So, in the spirit of going the extra mile, it was now time to drop the fuel tank and get to work replacing the cross member entirely. As well as the rear of the fuel tank, the exhaust also hangs from the rusty crossmember, so that had to be removed too. Although I can weld, there are certain areas where it pays to get a professional, and structural crossmembers are one. To make sure the job was done properly, I asked a local fabricator to fit the new crossmember. Not only did the job get done properly, it's likely stronger now than when it left the factory. With the chassis now solid again, it's time to get to work on that rotten tub. First job is to remove the load liner and predictably reveal a suitably awful bodge. Yes, it appears in the past someone has opted not to repair the rotten bed, but to pop rivet alloy plates over the holes. Of course, this isn't good enough, so you've guessed it, it's time to go the extra mile. As I was unable to source a replacement panel for the bed floor, in addition to some cross members, I've opted to cut out all damaged or rotten corrugated metal and replace with fresh sheet steel. With the bed cut away, I'll take the opportunity to clean and protect the inside of the bed channels. Once all new metal has been welded into place both top and bottom, I'll protect all joints with seam sealer before applying an initial thin coat of stone chip, followed by a full thickness coat the next day. Although I will be refitting the bed liner, it's worth coating the bed in stone chip just to give it that extra level of protection. Now that the tub is solid once more and protected for future use, I can do something that I've wanted to do since this truck arrived: remove those rear facing lights and the wire mesh from the ladder rack. As the ladder rack is quite a useful feature, I'll be keeping it. However, I'm going to give it a coat of bed liner to smarten it up and make sure it has a hard wearing finish. I'll also mask off and give the top of the bed sides the same treatment, as the load liner does not cover these areas. Next up are the rear shocks. These have been replaced within the last few years and are still performing well. However, they're starting to look a little tired and their bushes have perished. I'll whip them off and give them a freshen up and a new set of poly bushes. Whilst the fuel tank is out of the vehicle, it makes sense for me to give this a quick inspection and a clean up as well. I'll also freshen up the metallic tank guard just for the look. With the chassis now free from surface rusts, it's due to receive a coat of stone chip. However, before this happens, I want to apply a coat of rust converter, just as an extra measure to help make sure the chassis stays free from corrosion for as long as possible. Since removing the tub, something that's been bugging me is this area of overspray from a previous underseal job on the rear bulkhead. This area is never seen, however, as you know, I like to do things properly, so it's also removed. Another small defect that's caught my attention is this patch of exposed metal where paint has been chafed away by the previous spotlight wiring. I'll etch prime this now ahead of blending in a paint repair. A small detail on an unseen part of the truck, but it's details like this that make all the difference in the long run. At last, it's time to get the truck outside and lift it up so that I can continue with the cleanup and protection of the underside. After a further clean, I make sure everywhere is free from rust and dirt ahead of masking up anything I don't want covered in stone chip. As well as the outside of the chassis and the underside of the truck, I'll also be injecting the chassis rails with wax oil to protect the unseen areas. In case you aren't familiar with this process, I use this water bottle to demonstrate what the injection process looks like.
Whilst reconnecting the handbrake cables, I figured now was a good time to freshen up the rusty rear brake drums. A little elbow grease and some Hammerite go a long way. So after everything had been cleaned and protected, this is what the rear of the chassis looked like. There are still a few ancillary bits to tidy up, but I'm sure you'll agree that this is a vast improvement on how the truck came to me. Bodily, this truck wasn't too bad as it arrived. There are a few minor dents here and there, but nothing untoward for a truck of this age. The one issue that I cannot forgive, however, is the shocking state of the front bumper. Covered in deep scratches, puncture wounds and a serious split, this was really letting the side down and had to be sorted. With the bumper removed, the first job is to give it a clean up. After that, I want to tackle the huge split on the left side. To fix this, I'll use a technique known as plastic welding or plastic stitching. This basically involves holding a repair together with metal stitches which are melted into the plastic of the bumper. The first step is to drill a small hole at the end of the crack to prevent it from spreading any further. Next, I'll temporarily hold the crack together with some masking tape whilst I insert the stitches. Now that the bumper is held in the position where I want it, I can start to insert the metal stitches. There is a specific tool to do this job, which does make things a lot easier. However, at the time of filming this repair, I didn't have one, so I'm using the old school method and heating wire with a blowtorch and inserting it into the plastic. As an extra measure to secure the repair, I'm also going to add several layers of fiberglass to the back side of the repair to give it added strength and rigidity. With that first repair drying, I'll move on to sorting some of the other more serious damage to the bumper. I remove any irreparable high spots with a sharp knife before gently heating and manipulating the plastic back into shape as much as possible ahead of backing with more fiberglass matting. Once all resin has dried, it's time to sand the entire bumper before filling, priming and painting. Here I'm creating a channel over the repaired crack. This gives me an area to put the filler into so I can make a smooth repair. And this is the finished and dried result after paint and clear coat. This will still receive a flat and polish before being fitted, but before the bumper goes back on the truck, there are a few things I want to do. The reason I haven't refitted the bumper, the tub or the replacement arch liner is because in the next episode I'll start to modify the Hilux. Part of this modification stage concerns the body and the suspension, so having these parts off the truck will make this stage slightly easier.
Okay guys, thanks very much for watching. That'll do it for this episode. As you can see, I've had to go a little bit deeper than I thought with this one, but it was worth it. The truck is now in a lovely state, and it's a good base to move forward with. So in the next episode, join me as I start modifying the Hilux and making it the most exciting example it can be. I want it to stand out when it hits the market, as well as being a decent truck for the new owner. So please stay tuned for that one. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing and hit the bell. You will get a notification when the video goes live. Thanks ever so much, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.